Hello, and welcome to Wyverns and Weirdos Fathomless, a tabletop podcast set in the world of Fierlor. I'm your storyteller, Darby, and joining me as always are Mitch playing 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, Jake playing the Fishman, Laura playing Janice, and Zoe playing Loren. Let's jump into it. Where we last left off, Janice and 𝗖𝗧 completed their conversation as Janice walked 𝗖𝗧 to where he was staying for the evening, where 𝗖𝗧 proceeded to work further on the ship, specifically working on the Farstone. Upon returning to the tavern, Janice and Loren spoke upon a great many matters, including what they saw during the test of the Sphinx, and what those visions, shall we say, may mean for them. Finally, 𝗖𝗧 was visited by an apparition of his future self in his dreams, who revealed to him much of the nature of the future and of the nature of animancy and its intricate ties to the divine barrier that keeps the gods at bay and out of the prime material since the Great Flight. So, in the morning, 𝗖𝗧, you woke up and thought upon these things. Back at the Proud Gentleman, Janice, Loren, and Fishman, you all wake up in your relative times. Fishman, can you roll me this morning a wisdom saving throw?
That's very spicy. I wasn't expecting this. Wisdom saving?
Yes.
I'm good. That's a 24.
24.
I hope I'm good.
So, this morning, you wake not with the panic that you have awoken with many mornings before. At least not to the same extent. But you remember, strangely, the panic of many of those mornings. You don't have full recollection back, but there are fragments of your past. You feel incomplete mentally, like your mind is a patchwork quilt that's only partly created. But
that sounds like Fishman would write.
Pardon?
Very poetic. It sounds like
Yes.
something Fishman would write.
Yes. But for the first time in you don't know how long, you don't have enough of a clear memory to have a grasp on time spans. But for a very long time, the first time in a very long time, you wake up with a vague recollection of who you are.
Fishman is going to reach for his journal and quickly flick through the past couple of pages to see if anything significant has happened in the past couple of days that has led to this. Because this is very strange, and to his knowledge, he can't think of anything, or that he can remember, that would cause this.
Yeah, roll me an intelligence check.
5.
Yet there is nothing that clearly stands out in a way that makes you go like, oh, of course that. You just know something may or may not have happened, and you have memories. Not many, but you have memories.
What time is it? Because it would be fairly early in the morning.
Yeah, it is probably about 7 a.m.
Yeah, right. Fishman leaves his room, rushes to 𝗖𝗧's room, and bashes on the door.
𝗖𝗧 does not have a room.
Oh, that's right. He was going to stay somewhere else.
Yeah.
Do they have a way of like communicating?
No, give me a second. I think. Oh, is it?
Because then you can like rephrase all that.
You do
as
go
well,
to
that's
rush
cool.
to 𝗖𝗧's room, and then amongst the many vague memories that you have, one flashes to your mind as you try to recall, okay, which room is Neris in? Oh, he's not in a room, he's somewhere else.
Fishman's going to try something dumb. Because he needs to talk to Neris now, and he doesn't know where Neris is. Fishman goes back to his room and holds out a finger and continuously casts message and spins in a circle and hoping one of the messages land. Otherwise, he's going to probably give up on that and see if he can talk to one of the others. Essentially the question is Neris within 120 feet in any direction from the hotel?
Would you be up at 7 a.m., Neris, and heading towards the hotel?
So I think initially Neris was looking at getting a little bit of a late start because of everything that happened, because he had a late finish. But then he had a vision, which is incredibly important. So as soon as he wakes up, he would take a little moment to gather his thoughts and then would head to the tavern where he left everyone. My question for you is, what time would that have woken him up?
Roll me 3d4.
Oh, shit. I'm going to apologize. I only had a d20 out.
Now who's the fool? Now who's the
I've done
fool,
it.
mate?
Yep.
All ones, you die instantly.
That is 6. It's 2 1s and a 4.
So I would say 6 a.m.
Okay.
So
Then, yeah, probably at about 7, after he's gathered his thoughts, he would start to head over. So he would probably be within 150 feet. He would almost be entering the tavern, I think.
yeah. So Fishman, what does Neris hear?
All right. You hear whispered in your head, but almost as if it's the message is like given by someone with hard of breath, like they've lost a lot of breath, as if they've been talking very quickly and haven't been breathing between sentences. It's Fishman. I remember. Thing. It's 7 a.m. And then you would hear shortly after, it's Fishman. I remember things. It's 7:01 a.m. And I guess you would probably hear a couple more.
I think probably halfway through the second one, or the third or so, there would probably be a very hurried knock at your door.
Swings open, Neris is pulled in by the collar of his shirt, and the door is shut behind him. I hope it's actually, if it's not Neris, that's funny.
Just some random person. Housekeeping. It is Neris, and he looks confused, panicked, excited, but mostly confused.
The first question Fishman will ask is, I do not recall any event that could have caused this, and I doubt this has happened naturally. I've been ailed by this for longer than I can now remember. Why now? Did you do something?
I have done nothing. Nothing that would prompt such behavior.
And you're not just being modest.
Believe me, if I was to do something, I would make it very known.
Is the zombies, perhaps?
Neris is just going to quickly look around the room. Is Fishman's diary open? Are there words written everywhere? Is there anything?
The room is uncharacteristically tidy. However, there is a couple of things on the written on canvas attached to the ceiling, and you can maybe see a few fixtures on the bed that maybe Fishman could have used to tie himself down. Loosened. But that's basically it. His diary is in his hand closed. Or journal. Whatever you want to call it.
Those creatures that we fought, I find it improbable that they would have any cause for this. Why now?
I did not make contact with any of them. The only thing I made contact with, and I believe Fishman has learnt his name, was 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, but he did not make contact with me. In fact, I'm not even sure if he noticed me.
Something sort of darkens Neris's expression, but he doesn't say anything.
Perhaps the barkeep, the owner of this establishment. Something in the drink, something in the water, perhaps.
What happened during the night? Did you Do you remember thinking anything? Do you remember dreaming anything?
Not one thing. The only thing different this past night than any of the others is that I'm staying in this establishment. Perhaps the Sphinx.
Perhaps they did know more than what they should have.
They did also make contact with me and their aberration.
You fared well against your creation. Potentially that has triggered something within you. Perhaps you have completed a trial that you did not know you set for yourself.
It does not seem right, though. My aberration was 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧. Probably not the surprise of anyone, but it was not them. It was not really them. I want nothing but to see 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 again, but I got no satisfaction from seeing this one, from defeating this one. I don't believe anything significant came out of that other than the passing of the trial. But perhaps, maybe.
How curious. Neris is just going to start to just kind of rifle through a little pouch that he wears on his belt, still staring at Fishman, and just pull out components that almost just come to his hand. He's just sort of going to crush them up and just scatter them around the room, and he's going to cast Detect Magic on the room. Is there anything out of place? I think Neris already knows the answer, so he's paying almost more attention to Fishman.
There is nothing out of place. The only things pinging are your own magical items and the Fishman's magical item.
Oh, curious. And because Neris isn't really paying attention to what he's doing, he's just trying to solve this conundrum. Keeping concentration on Detect Magic, he's then going to concentrate on a second spell at the same time and cast Detect Thoughts on Fishman. Just surface level.
What kind of thoughts, or what specifically do you get from that?
At this point, all we're getting is the immediate surface thoughts. Like, what are you thinking right now?
He's familiar with Detect Magic, and the components to cast such a spell. So it might initially be, what the fuck is he doing? What is this man up to? And then he would see Detect Magic and he'd be like, interesting. I should have thought of doing that. Damn it. Ah, well, hopefully he can come up with something meaningful. Now I'm going to stare intently at him. Try and see what he's thinking, maybe. Yes, I think this is good. Perhaps I can come up with an answer based off his facial expressions before he does. That might make him be impressed.
Neris is absolutely going to just crack a little bit of a smile at this. Nothing.
It's magic, isn't it? Something magical happened to me.
I don't know.
No.
That is what is curious. How far back can you remember?
It is not a matter of how far back, but what of. There is a part that I cannot remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, Darby, but he won't be able to remember anything of how he came to this plane or
Currently
anything like that.
You have no recollections prior to your arrival upon the prime material.
I remember things of this world. I believe I cannot remember anything of my people. I only remember those things that are familiar to myself and most likely you as well. Snippets, but not much. But that is more than I have remembered in a long time. There is still something there. I can feel it, but I know I just can't quite see it.
Oh, intriguing.
Have you still got Detect Thoughts on?
Both are still on, yes.
The name 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 is scared, it's like screaming in his head.
Perhaps hopefully this will persist and you can develop your memory more. For there is potential that if we can understand your past, we may be able to confront it.
I believe there's already an answer to that question, and that answer is someone who we have come across before, and one who I have not been able to track down since.
Things are changing, man. are so incredibly close to being able to go where no one else is able to go. And that may just be your future.
You may have to clarify. Are you suggesting time travel? Because I understand you may be capable of it eventually. In fact, is that not what 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 has already done? But is that not what you want to avoid? And why my future? It's the past I'm interested in.
But to get to your past, you have to go to the future.
I am forever stuck in the present. I do not have the luxury of the future. I'm merely obsessed with the past. That'd make a good tattoo.
I tend to stay away from those. What I am suggesting is that if you focus on the past, that will then become the future because you are focusing on it. So your future is your past. It's the same way that tomorrow will someday be yesterday. Yesterday cannot be tomorrow unless tomorrow you are studying yesterday, and tomorrow then technically becomes yesterday because you are looking at yesterday tomorrow. Do you follow?
Some advice. Firstly, no. Secondly, stick to papers. Do not ever attempt poetry. You don't have the flair.
Good to know.
But I understand that you are passionate about it. I can see that. And I would agree to disagree with you, for I believe this is not something that you will be giving up on.
Well, I'm glad you have some memories back, and I hope that we can work on that to improve your retention.
I'll let you know if anything else happens. In the meantime, I'm going to go talk to the barkeep, found out what I drank last night, and drink some more of it.
It is 7:30 in the morning.
Your point? Do they not provide alcohol at such an hour?
An excellent rebuttal. On your way. And 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 will step out of the door.
You can still probably hear in Fishman's thoughts. He was like getting a gun loaded with like rhetorics to fight your logic, using his very self as an example of someone who his future is completely unimportant, and the person who he is now is someone who's looking for his past, and he was just going to keep on spinning that into a way to kind of disprove 𝗖𝗓𝗧's theory.
To himself, 𝗖𝗓𝗧 just kind of very slowly shakes his head. Yes. That man is incredible. What would make a terrible seer?
Right. Janice, Loren, what are you doing this morning?
Well, I guess one question is, how long would Janice have let Loren mooch in his room before kicking her out? Or did he kick her out?
As long as she needed to. So he didn't kick her out unless she kicked herself out.
So Loren wakes up in Janice's room with the saltiest hangover you can imagine.
The vinegariest hangover you can imagine, more like.
Yeah. And she just kind of rubs her eyes and she looks over at Janice. How does Janice sleep?
Oh, I guess like Janice takes up like a very large portion of the bed. He's kind of like kind of sprawled out, I guess. He does snore very loudly. So yeah, she just wakes up like
yeah. So Loren would have slept in that little chair, just kind of huddled up in a little fetal position. And she kind of stretches out like a cat. Then she kind of slinks around the room a bit. She kind of gets things ready for the day, tidies up a little bit. She's used to Janice snoring at this point. She kind of looks out the window, checks the weather for the day, just senses if there's any rumblings on the wind, but can't really feel anything. Probably hears a lot of weird running outside, but surely there's nothing that could be happening at, 7:15 in the morning, so it's fine. And she will eventually put her shirt back on. Honk! She will honk loudly. She will eventually put her shirt back on over her little sports bra, and she will just pick up a pillow from a seat and hold it above Janice's head. Wait until she hears a nearby clock chime 7:30 exactly, and then drop it on his head.
whoa.
Morning!
And he kind of in this flurry of not angry or upset sort of energy, but just with this burst of energy, you see a flash of claws and sort of like the skin like around his fingers sort of shifts for a moment, and then just like he just kind of like manages to finally get the pillow off his head and just rolls over. It's like, that was uncalled for.
Is there any other way to wake ya?
He throws the pillow at her face and gets up.
That is a nat 1 to catch it, so she does not.
Smacks her in the face.
It just smacks her straight in the face. And she goes, oh, you are the fighting one, aren't you? Jesus.
Puts
Not
his hands
Jesus.
on his-
Fantasy, Jesus.
He puts his hands on his hips and like as he sort of gets up and looks over, like, you're really fucking slow. Goodness me. Maybe doing more than that to be a useful member of the Spirited Gull.
You know I've been working on it, Janice. You just got me at a bad moment.
Yeah, too much vinegar. And he gets dressed.
Do you know where the director wants us to go today?
I actually don't. I'm sort of hoping that everyone will kind of reconvene. Otherwise, it's just a lot of waiting, which I'm sure we're all a little bit too tired of.
Probably. Don't worry, maybe he got a stiff breeze and flew in like a kite.
He reached it. He kind of like is very like throwing his shirt back on. He's like very quickly sort of buckling his armor back on, and he reaches over to the bed and takes one last swig of the bottle of bourbon and throws it back on the bed and turns around and is like, well, only one way to find out.
Captain?
His mouth quirks into a grin almost reflexively as he will duck his head and then open the door and stride out and seek out wherever anyone else is, I guess. Otherwise, he will go and stroll out to go and get some breakfast, I guess.
Loren follows.
So, as everyone is going about their morning routine, Fishman, you, with your passive perception, you'll probably notice that there is a slight pack guard presence within the tavern. Just asking a few people some questions. Fishman, you pick up that there is talks of a cloaked figure who sounded as if they were covered head to toe in armor, was spotted heading into a sewer that is notorious as an illicit access point to the Underdark.
And would these descriptions of this cloaked, spotted character be of 𝗖𝗔𝗦?
Roll me.
Akin to what 𝗖𝗔𝗦 was wearing when Fishman saw him?
I mean, roll me an insight check.
Certainly covered in armor if your whole body is made of metal.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Yeah, it seems consistent with how someone who did not get a clear view of 𝗖𝗔𝗦 would likely describe them.
And is it the Pact Guard asking these questions?
Yes.
Or is this someone...
The Pact Guard are asking questions, and there are a few of the patrons in the tavern making
I'm guessing
conversation.
𝗖𝗔𝗦 would 100% have made himself scarce, considering they're not really his besties.
Yeah. Yes.
Fishman will take a swig of whatever he's drinking, whatever he had the night before.
Yeah. 𝗖𝗔𝗦 probably would have left the moment that he saw the Pact Guard show up, so he would not have heard the Underdark revelation.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is any of the other party up at the moment?
So
Are they
Loren,
are they downstairs?
Loren and Janice probably would be. We might not have spotted you yet because you're a sneaky boy. We're probably just having breakfast, I assume, which for Janice is just fish.
For Loren, it is also fish, but they're on a piece of...
Janice is almost like actively just like, while there's probably a bit of like a cagey energy, well, especially with the Pact Guard, because they're like the big head honcho of the police in this sort of area. In contrast, Janice is being like sillier than normal. He's like throwing fish up and catching in his mouth, that sort of thing.
Oh, you're so
And just
gross.
like turning and grinning if any guards look over towards him, that sort of thing.
Loren is very pointedly not making any direct eye contact with any guards. But she's not behaving any differently than normal. She's just not looking at any of them.
Neris is drinking tea in the corner.
Yeah.
Fishman might approach and get everyone's attention by tapping his bottle against the wall. How close is everyone?
It's not a huge tavern. I imagine we all...
We probably accidentally ended up at opposite sides, I suppose, but then Fishman is a very tall man, so it's not very hard to catch his have him catch our attention and then see that there's another party across the other side of the room.
Oh, gods, what does he want this early in the morning?
Well, let's find out. And Janus scoops up his bowl and wanders over.
Loren follows.
Fishman's going to look around and see if anyone else is paying attention. Because he can remember that we keep on talking out loud in public. And it's going to kill us one day.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, roll me a perception check.
He's not very good at those. Jokes, that's a 28.
Yeah, no one seems to be paying particular attention.
Cool. Fishman's going to lower his voice. Now, as you may or may not be aware, the Pact Guard is here asking questions.
I would assume they would be. There was a lot of things that happened last night.
Yes, I know about it, our fault, so it's totally fine.
They seem to be asking about a particular cloaked individual, I believe to be Exley.
Don't say his name so loud, damn it.
Fishman will peep up again and see if anyone's looking nonchalantly.
Yeah, still no one paying particular attention.
I believe we're all in good company, and those that aren't a part of that company aren't listening. But they mentioned that this cloaked individual was sighted entering a sewage pipe that they believe, and it is infamous, perhaps for leading to the Underdark.
Janus kind of lowers his bowl a little bit and now is looking more serious. He's like, so the creature that ordered this attack is still around.
Underdark.
Lingering.
And on top of this, as you might be aware, Alton is not here. They ran away as soon as there was a hint of the Pact Guard.
That
So
is
I'm
understandable.
not sure where they are.
There was some business involving him earlier, wasn't there? I was not there for it.
I believe,
Pretty-
yes, there is some history.
I cannot blame. It would not be good to have the eyes of the Pact Guard turned towards you in that way.
But if we are lost for a lead, this might be just the one. And possibly the Pact Guard may be able to give us extra information, if they would be so generous.
I mean, it would solve the problem of what happened and why this attack happened. Would it further our goals?
I do
And,
particularly want to see this cloaked figure again, for personal reasons.
And Janus looks past Fishman and Neras and tilts his head slightly.
We have a need to ascertain the location of this individual. New information has come to light, which I have not yet
Really?
had a chance to impart on everyone. But the more information we know about this person, the better.
Fishman turns towards Neris with a raised eyebrow, gesturing me, but in a very discretionary way. Meaning, relating to new information that he hasn't revealed to the party yet, because that concerns him a little bit. Have you still got detect thoughts up?
He does not, no.
Okay.
For what it's worth, Janus also has a momentary look of surprise that that there is something. He was just checking to see what Neras' thoughts were, and so he just nods. Then he kind of tilts his head towards Loren and is like, well, perhaps it might be worth investigating after all then, and discussing what those further things may be, as he nods at Neras, when we can.
Is there anyone amongst us who is particularly easy to communicate? I have my skills in ascertaining information from people. Can be very persuasive, but anyone else is more...
I can be quite persuasive, but I don't believe in the ways that we need right now.
Very well.
I have history as well, but I am also very good at provoking irritation if they think that there might be more than just talking involved. You understand, like cheating at cards. If I borrow an aspect of Shognesh to make them more pleased to speak to me, that can also have some problems.
Fishman aggressively slams his bottle on the table, and you can see that there is a little bit of anger in his eyes. Is this how you have bested me in cards? You have a perfect record. I have not once bested you.
I would never cheat in cards, only
Hey.
in
That's the
talking
fuck out of that.
Neris leaves the conversation. He doesn't want to be a part of what's happening, so he's going to skulk around to his other table.
Loren just kind of watches him go.
Fishman got a nat 1.
Janice, got an 8, I suppose, so that's not bad. But
10 overall, but nat 1.
So Janice just seems sus. That's it. He always seems sus.
I guess you have won them fair and square. You are not the type of person to cheat.
No, precisely. Tell stories, yes, absolutely, but not cheat. We'll have to bet cards again sometime, though. Rematch, we'll see how it goes. Maybe you'll win this time.
I'm feeling particularly good today. I think today.
Well, perhaps after we've talked to your mushroomy friend.
Friendship goes both ways. He's not my friend. He's made that clear.
He's no one's friend.
I don't know. He seemed to be quite buddy-buddy with a particular person. Or at the very least acquainted with.
It's what you get when you work towards a similar goal.
Is Cerese's goal mass slaughter of innocents? And then causing them to become monstrous figures of the undead?
You ever heard a shanty about her? You're at least half right.
Cold and Iron Fist, but it doesn't fit. But then again, Cerese seems to be turning into someone quite unfit.
Anyway, if you need someone to talk to the pack guard, that was sort of my thing back in the day.
Ah, yes. Is that what we're looking at doing? Just chatting to them? He looks for Fishman and looks over at Neris who's sitting down. Is Neris just sort of like just having a headache, or is he just like doing something else?
So Neris is doing something else.
Oh no.
So Neris has, as soon as attention started to be drawn to us, Neris has distanced himself immediately, has gone back to his table, taken a couple of sips of tea, and looked over at the packed guards and sort of has a curious expression on his face. The packed guards, are they talking loudly or are they like pulling people aside and whispering?
They're not talking loudly, but they're not whispering either. They are pulling people aside, but when they do so, they're just speaking at like regular. So it's not something you would pick up on if you weren't paying attention, but if you are paying attention at all, it's not hard to kind of pick up bits and pieces.
Neris is going to take one more little sip, and as one of the guards get a little bit closer to him, Neris is just kind of going to beckon him, still looking very curious.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. I can assume you are here about everything that happened here last night.
We are?
Well, actually, sorry.
Do you have any information?
Well, I mean, not really. There was a lot that happened. I was in the area for dinner. I did not stay here.
Roll me a deception check. Like, it's not an out-and-out lie, but this is a lie of omission.
In the background, Janice just kind of like has sort of like stopped as he's been observing this and just sort of like slowly raises his eyebrows at Fishman and then to Loren and then just like puts his arms behind his back and just continues to watch.
And actually, Fishman would probably turn to Loren as if to talk about something completely differently. Noticed that Neris is now talking to one of the pack guards and kind of gently kick Loren under the table. You may want to jump in.
Oh, God.
So this is very importantly leading into a set of questions that Neris wants an answer. So Neris is, as he's finishing his statement, he's going to just sort of flash a grin, which is still that confident, but still like he's just got questions instead of answers. And Neris is using his divine abilities to get a 21 total.
Okay. So that is, I assume, your portent.
Yeah, that's my big one.
Yeah.
We're blowing it at 7:35 in the morning.
Yeah, okay. Well, had you departed by the time that everything went down, or?
Well, I did see there was a lot of commotion happening. People were running outside. There was this figure in a cloak, big, tall thing.
Yes, we keep getting vague descriptions. All we get for certain that's consistent amongst them all is a big moldy cloak and the rattlings of armor. Does that seem consistent with what you saw?
Seems to be, yes. Don't know where this individual went, though. Hopefully he didn't find any more taverns.
We have no indication that he went to any other taverns. He seems, by all accounts, to have, by one means or another, fled the city. Most likely seems to be the Underdark, so if you're worried, sir, there's very little risk of a follow-up attack too soon.
Well, it's very good to hear, and
If we do our job right, there shouldn't be any chance of a follow-up attack.
well, I'm incredibly glad we have the city's finest on the case. But you mentioned the Underdark. That is... How did they get there?
You're seeming incredibly nosy, lad.
But I think of myself as a researcher, as someone who enjoys to learn things. I'm just trying to ask some questions. I apologize if I am prying too much.
Completely understandable, sir. But there is a limit to which we can pass on what we're saying.
I understand, of course. I have no more information for you, so I apologize, but I do hope that you catch this individual.
Thank you.
If they should return.
Should you see anything new or recall anything, feel free to make your way to the guardhouse and make it known.
Of course. Do you have a business card or something that I could have?
We're the Pact Guard. We if you go to one of the guardhouses, they'll pass it on to us. So pass it on to the relevant captains.
Well, thank you for your time. I hope you can find what you're looking for.
Thank you. Enjoy your day, sir.
And you as well. And Neris is going to sit down and he's going to look... There's not going to be a lot of expression that crosses his face, but those of you that have traveled with him for a while, there is almost a look of confidence, like he got something that he wanted. And he's just going to sit back and sip.
After the kick in the leg from Fishman, Loren had sort of like casually stood up and was making to amble over and interject, and just kind of stood there leaning against the wall, just listening from a distance. And then as the pack guard walks away, she kind of ambles over to Neris. Here I was thinking I'd have to help you.
Well, that is very kind of you to be ready to jump on in, but the conversation was concluded almost as soon as I began to think of having it.
All right. Well, one note is you did nearly get called out there.
Also,
Called you curious. Worst thing you can be is curious. Makes you memorable.
nobody remembers me.
That's a lie. You don't think it is? That's even more curious.
We need to find out how this individual traveled to the Underdark without leaving the city.
I'm hearing a lot of talk of sewers. Do you know a lot about the plumbing system?
I can find a lot about it, but alas, I do not have an interest in the sewer system up until this point, of course.
Of course. All right. I think we can work with that. Good job. She kind of claps him on the shoulder.
Thank you. And does Loren turn away at any point?
She kind of, as she has her hand on his shoulder, she kind of looks over at Janice and Fishman to like be almost like, yeah, no, he's fine. And then kind of glances over the pack guard to see if there's anyone she wants to have a stab at, metaphorically. So yeah, her gaze is not fully on Neris.
Okay. But her hand is, so he is going to hold the delayed wincing from the hand clapping on the shoulder.
Beautiful. Perfect.
I think Neris is just going to begin sort of just like muttering to himself. Just in like
Okay, we're at that phase.
different lot of languages. And his hands are just going to sort of do that weird clicky thing. And he'll just continue to look over at the packed guard as if waiting for something to happen. But he doesn't say anything.
Darby, do any of these pet guards look like they'd be willing to spill their secrets to a pretty enough girl?
Roll me an insight check.
That's not going to be great. 10. Thoroughly mediocre.
Yeah. Hard.
Oh, I hate police. Okay. She kind of wanders back over to the table. Captain, your director over there managed to get that big tall fella potentially went into the sewers.
Janice Janice has been scarfing down like the rest of his fishies. And it's like, no. She said I like really, it was quite dazzling, wasn't it, Fishman? Yeah.
I will admit he did well.
Okay. Down, boys. But do you want me to do any further digging? Might be able to see if one of them will cough up which sewer it is, give us a direction.
Yeah, well maybe you're so worried that, where should you stay away from?
Fair.
Is there risk here?
Oh, there's always risk.
I just feel like you wouldn't be asking if there wasn't a lot of risk. Do you need help?
I'm trying to be a good guy here, Fishman. Good guys do things above the... Oh, don't. You'll make me want to stop.
Any information is good information. Do you want me to join you and look pretty or something? Maybe that might loosen...
That's a good suggestion. If they're not interested in you, Loren, they might be interested in Fishman. He wriggles his eyebrows.
Or perhaps you can take the most intimidating one of us, and he gestures towards Janice, and perhaps it might have the opposite effect.
I think for starters, I might go in on my own, and if you see me scratch the back of me head, you took boulder parchment shears for it, right?
Sounds good.
You can do that. Well, good luck. And don't accidentally scratch your head.
I don't know what you mean, she says, scratching the back of her head.
As Loren wanders off, Janice will lean into Fishman and go, do you want to watch her or shall I? One of the rest of us should find out what it is that Nereus actually wants. And then perhaps we should not all be in the same tavern, in case something does go awry one way or another.
I believe that you speak well with Nereus. You should go with Nereus. And I believe Loren loves speaking with me, so I'll watch Loren.
The two of you do get along quite well. You clearly have a lot in common, I think.
Fishman's looking at any form of sarcasm because he's not sure, because he was being very sarcastic early.
It seems like he's teasing, but you can't quite tell. That's his manner. He just claps you on the shoulder and will then just slowly lope his way over and just sit down next to Nereus, or opposite Nereus.
Sorted then. Fishman will sit back and keep on drinking from his bottle as he watches Loren. But indiscriminately, of course, in case anyone else is looking.
Loren's just gonna go for a little wander around the tavern, kind of wringing her hands. I guess as a sidebar, she left her staff with Janice, so she does not have the huge magical spear with her at the moment. She looks very small.
He's got both strapped to his back. That's okay because it's a fantasy town, so everyone has fantasy weapons everywhere.
And she just kind of wanders around for a bit and is going to go up to... She couldn't get much of a read on the pact guard, but she is going to go for who she thinks looks the youngest and most inexperienced, and perhaps the one with the most to prove. And she's going to kind of go up to them and go, excuse me.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
My name's Melanie. I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm just, I was staying in the tavern overnight. I wasn't here, luckily, when all of that happened, but I seem to have lost my pet cat.
Well, we haven't seen any pets. I'm sorry.
Oh, in that you haven't seen them, or that they were taken away at some point when they cleaned up.
No, I haven't seen any.
Oh, good. Sorry. I take Cynthia wherever I go with me, and she just has a real habit of getting into trouble.
Just roll me a performance check.
Okay.
Because this is a lot more performance than deception.
Yeah.
Where are those fake tears?
This is taking up a whole new persona.
Yeah, look. Yeah. Okay, that would have been really bad, so I'm actually going to use a sorcery point to re-roll that. Okay. Oh my god, that's my performance score. 19.
19. Okay. Yeah. Continue on.
Because of your bard years have come back to you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, she just gets into trouble, and I worry ever so much.
Oh well. If I hear anything, I'll try to get it to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Oh, I'm just so worried that big brute in the cloak might have taken her.
Oh, I haven't heard anything about an animal being held.
Oh, that's fine.
Probably quite hard
sorry.
to get into the sewers with an animal too.
The sewers. Oh, but she hates the smell. Do you know? Oh, sorry. I'm just putting all of this upon you. What's your name?
Trevor.
Trevor. Oh, you seem such a nice fellow, Trevor. I'm so sorry. I'm just getting tears on everything. And she is going to use a little bit of shape water to make tears.
Okay.
And just like have them sort of running down her face.
Do you have subtle spell? What are the components of shape water?
Oh fuck! There are components to spells. That's right.
Yeah, it is a semantic spell. So, do you have subtle spell?
Is semantic words or hand motions?
Semantic is hand motions.
I have Warcaster. I don't have to use hand motions to cast spells.
I don't know that that's quite how that works.
I can ignore somatic components.
No, you can perform the somatic components of spells even when you have weapons or a shield in one or both hands.
Okay.
So
She plays a fire. I'll roll for it. We can say that the somatic components were while she was wringing her hands, and she's just brought it up.
Yeah, roll me a sleight of hand check.
Okay.
Given you have no way of just ignoring the somatic components.
And in the meantime, very quickly while this is happening, Janice sits down opposite Neros and is like, "Hey, any angle here? Otherwise, we may want to sort of disperse a bit more. Have you got the information you need?"
I have everything that I need, but there are still more that I can gain. And Neros looks like he was prepping to cast a spell, but he does hold off a little bit. And he stops as you walk up.
Interesting. I'm not saying stop, whatever you're planning. Just let us know what's going on.
No, it is fine. I was contemplating intervening to find the information whether that conversation succeeds or fails, but we have other ways to get the information. We know about the sewers, and I know where to find more information about both the sewers and the Underdark.
Janice just kind of like, just schools his expression and then turns to continue watching Loren.
21.
21. Okay, yeah. Okay. You do your best to subtly create water without, to your knowledge, this guard noticing.
Sorry, it's been a long evening.
That's okay. It's okay.
Is it Trevor? And she just starts sobbing.
Oh, we'll find. I'll keep you updated if we see a cat at all.
Can you... Look, I know you're not meant to tell the general public anything, and I completely understand, Trevor. Can you at least just tell me where you're looking so I can look elsewhere? I just want to find her. She's my only friend.
I'm sorry, there's nothing more I can really tell.
Trevor. And she kind of places her hand on his arm. Please.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I don't have the stupid idea thing. I thought she did. Okay, cool. She just kind of looks very tragic for a moment. Fine. You're a good man, Trevor.
Thank you, ma'am.
I guess I'll just... Oh, God. I was really hoping Trevor would be a pushover, is Loren's inner monologue, if anyone is checking in. She just kind of looks very forlorn. I guess I'll just... I don't know how to say this without sounding like an idiot. I guess I'll just look on my own. Thank you, though.
Yes.
You see anything of Cynthia, she is orange and precious.
Of course, ma'am. We live to serve.
You do. Good on you, Trevor. And she just kind of pets him gently, and then, God, how willing am I to push this stupid idea that isn't working? Okay, in the distance, out of the corner of his eye, Trevor is going to see a small orange cat start running down an alley. Minor illusion.
All right. Will he see it? For one thing, perception check. Yeah, you're presumably making it fairly obvious.
Yes, I want him to see it.
Oh, Mom!
Get him, Trevor, Trevor!
Of course, he goes running off.
Loren just kind of rolls her eyes and walks back to the table and just goes, well, that man was a waste of feckin' time.
You found nothing out?
No, God, they don't tell these police anything.
I overheard. Why don't we just tell them we were there last night and we're looking for...
Because then they're going to think we had something to do with it, Fishman. You lot have already destroyed one tavern. I won't be a part of a second. Oh shit, Janice, did we not tell you that?
Huh?
Yeah, Janice is off with Neris at the moment.
I just assume he's always behind me at this point.
Does have that energy. Well, what are we to do now? Disperse, like Janice said, or...
I was really hoping I'd get more out of that. Feck. I'm losing it. Fishman, I'm losing it. I've gone nice and I don't know how to manipulate people anymore.
Is it a sport for you?
Yes.
I'll try it on me.
Manipulate you?
I don't dare.
You're not
Seem
worth
down
it.
in the dark.
Oh, God.
Especially without your precious cat, I'm not sure how you'll cope.
I do miss Eirik. You know, Janice's kids made him a collar. It's very cute.
This is not where I expected this conversation to go. However, now that you mention it, I have not seen Eirik for quite some time. Where are...
Eirik?
Yes.
I just said Janice's family. Kids looking after him if he doesn't break out and try and get back to me.
Fair enough. Do you mind if I ask the motive behind that? You seemed quite attached.
I am. It's not very good to be attached to me at the moment. Not in
Going
that
down
way.
a self-destructive path.
I'm not the one who's self-destructive. Mr. Chase is after the moldy guy in a cloak. I'm just being pragmatic. And apparently that's losing me touch. Maybe I should just be evil again. It was easier.
You don't seem the evil type.
How do you know?
Maybe-
I'm very evil.
Maybe petty evil, but...
Petty! You know, I tried to kill Neris once.
Pride is the key word there.
God, you're all going to be the death of me. I'm losing
Serious
my touch.
question.
I'm losing my nerve. What?
Going down this path, going down and following our evasive friend may very well lead to perhaps some form of contact with Cerise. Or at the very least with the god they now have a bond with. Are you okay with this? I brought up Cerise earlier.
Whether or not we run into me ex-captain, I have a new one now. To be honest with you, Fishman, and I'm trying real hard to be honest, I would absolutely rather not climb down the sewers into the Underdark to chase after a creature made of mold and metal who has direct line in contact with a god. I would really rather not, especially when he blew up 19 people last night. For no reason. And her face kind of twitches as she says no reason.
Fishman's going to have a look around to make sure no one's listening as well. He's going to be doing these check-ins fairly often. Like, say, for example, there's no packed guard coming back with a cat. Oh, no, tears in his eyes and arms full of nothing.
Roll me a perception check.
Sure, he can do that. That would be a... 12. Oh, wow.
You don't see anything.
I'm not sure how it worked on Cerise's crew, but you may be following another captain, but the deal usually with our crew is that you have quite a large say in how things happen, and if there's something that you're not comfortable with, then there is no need to keep it to yourself. Make it known.
I'm not comfortable with any of it, but it's what we have to do, isn't it?
It's one of. It is an approach. May not be our only approach. As with all things, there's usually another way.
But this is the approach that gets us answers, doesn't it?
Neris has a way of getting answers. He's a man with many questions, and a man with many ways to get the answers to these questions. And I believe I saw him earlier preparing some form of spell. I have no idea what it is, but I believe that tells me that this is not our only option. I'm merely assuming here, but I've seen what that man can do.
The moment he's a better me than me. Should be commended for it.
There is no better you than you.
Oh, don't be
There is
cute.
only one you.
Well, there's not, technically.
So what are we to do? Should we join the others?
Look, your crew may get a lot of say in what happens and how it's shaped. I'm not going to let my discomfort be the reason we don't follow this. If
Okay,
the
then.
big man and that lovely man named 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, who I'm being very nice to today, if that's where they want to go, that's where I go. And if the Mist Forge makes an appearance, you're standing in front of me, whether you want to or not.
Very quick. Mist Forge. Is that what they are?
It's what the rumors call them, forged in the mists. They're not of this plane, they're from another one. Some say the only recollection, I guess, they didn't talk to a lot of people when they came back. It's over 100 years ago at this point, but there was talk that everywhere they went, a fog followed. Like those old tales of the Nosferatu.
I looked at this man and I had no idea what he was.
You're not meant to. It's metal and magic. It's death and life, and there isn't a drop of blood on him that he doesn't use for a spell. He is in every
Sorry.
definition a creature.
I need to find out more about our cloaked friend.
You really don't. I don't know why you're so curious about him.
Because he is a potential enemy.
I love knowing things about me enemies. Believe me, if I could know everything about every single one of you, I would. However, sometimes being curious gets you dead.
I don't believe visiting a library and looking at a couple of books will kill.
Oh, you're also frustrating. Oh, I don't. Oh.
Fighting
Oh.
𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 without any knowledge, and he says this quietly, will get me killed. Or very likely.
That's why you don't fight them.
I don't see this being an option. I've tried negotiating, as you might have seen. So perhaps there's a
tried-
different way to get a message across.
Okay, this is me stating the thing that I want to do as a crew member is not watch you die. From an entirely preventable thing, we can just go down into the sewer and hear what people say about 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, and then we can leave. We don't have to fight him. We don't have to go near him. He doesn't have to see our faces again.
If we don't have to fight 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, we won't.
Good.
Fishman gets up and kind of gestures to join the others and walks over. For what it's worth, that was an incredibly convincing persona you pulled off.
Not my best work.
The tears were a nice touch.
Thank you. Learned that one from 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, actually.
As he walks over to the others.
She kind of takes a second, just breathes, tries to get off the back foot, but she just can't in this new group. And she walks over as well with an unearned swagger and takes a seat.
So, any information gleaned?
All cops are idiots, but I guess we already knew that.
Okay, so nothing.
Nothing.
𝗖𝗧𝗧,
This
are you
one
just
got more
being-
than me. Sorry.
Are you still pondering 𝗖𝗧𝗧, or do we have a reason to be here? What is the cause to be so interested in this current set of events?
I will tell you all, but not here. Not while there are so many ears listening.
That would also be a good idea.
Also, your friend may come back as a cat, so I don't.
Well, if he does, then he's going to have to arrest himself for feline napping.
Anyway, I do not know where Elton has gotten to. However, with the four of us, I believe we can achieve the next goal. Are you ready for the most exciting adventure that anyone could possibly have?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm fascinated to hear what you're going to say next.
Let us walk and talk. And 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, filled with almost unrestrained joy and excitement for where we're about to go, is going to stroll out of the tavern with an air of confidence to him. And I'm assuming we get out without anyone asking any questions, because two of us have already been spoken to. So assuming that, we exit the tavern and we begin walking just down the street a little bit into a more populated area, and Neris is going to begin to talk. So, last night, something happened. We encountered an individual who, for whatever reason, impacted the lives of many. We all survived and recovered over some well-earned sleep. As some of you may be aware, I am an expert in all things divine and fate. That also means that I am greeted by visitors in the night. The particular visitor who met me last night imparted some knowledge, and Neris is going to almost completely detail all the information that was in his dream, with the exception of the location and the individual who was telling him. But all the information on animancy, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, the divine barrier, everything that's told to everyone.
You believe this to be true?
I believe there to be some truth behind it. I have found that dreams and memories can be manipulated, though some of the information may be correct, potentially the timing, the goal given may be reconstructed. But I believe the information to be sound for the most part.
It is most grave then if there is some potential for someone this 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 to unleash a god, unleash the gods. Our divine connection is sacred. There should not be a direct conduit to it.
I don't think he cares about divine connection. I think, ironically enough, it's far more human than that.
How do you mean?
They were friends, weren't they? Head of his guard spent 25 years trying to get him back. You don't do that for divinity, you do it for friendship.
It is an admirable perseverance, if you put it that way.
Or a stupid one.
What do we know of this creature, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧? This individual?
This is the first time I've heard of him, apart from the glimpse we saw of him when we saw Wyverns and Weirdos and Damien, wasn't it?
Aye, Damien.
But I have not heard many tales of him. This is an interesting one.
I know that they're also known by designation. Actually, Jake doesn't remember. Is it 42?
Yes.
Yeah. Designation 42. I know that he is Mistforged. And I know that he is a man of few words.
Made of metal like Rue, wasn't it?
Of a sort. Mixed with trees. Nature awful.
One.
What I want to know is why a creature from another plane wishes to bring a divine entity to the material. What connection do either have with us? Is the material important, or is it just a stepping stone? Are we opening up a gate between the divine and the material, or are we creating a rift between all plane? The staircase with entrances on every level.
This is a good point. Well, regardless for motivation, if we're wanting to try and find out where this Mistforged has been rumored to have escaped to, if it's being investigated, the easiest place would be to find which sewer point is being investigated by the Pack Guard. Just a thought. And find a way to get past them. Or follow them. Not my area of expertise, of course, but that's what I've been thinking.
Do you think Alton knows where the entrance is?
I have no doubt.
Maybe we're all looking at it wrong, up into in our own heads. Maybe we shouldn't look for where the Pact Guard are looking. We should look for where Alton's avoiding. He said himself out of the Sphinx he doesn't want to go home. Plenty of people there who want him dead too.
That's right, the Underdark are connected everywhere under the ground, so no matter how far away his home is, someone like that, easy to connect it.
So maybe we're shedding tears and throwing illusions and asking questions in the wrong places. We just have to convince Alton to go back home. Should be easy enough. He seems to miss it greatly.
Perhaps we can explore multiple avenues at once. Some of us can talk to Alton, some of us can talk to the Pact Guard, and some of us can do our own research.
It is worth looking into if we need to find a way to crack open this egg, so to speak. This is something that is true, and it's something that requires a lot of attention, especially to find out in what way Lation is involved.
I mean, that man's got his sticky little fingers and everything, no offense, so...
His plan is to strengthen the gate, the barrier between the divine and the material.
Good thing.
It seems that way, but there are many shadows, many things that I cannot understand.
Bad people do plenty of good things for bad reasons.
Anyway, we can continue to ponder. However, we have also arrived at the first of many trials. And you all look up, and we are standing in front of the city hall. And Neris is staring up at the giant clock that's at the top. He takes a huge deep breath in. There's so much knowledge hidden here. And we can find it.
Loren just looks at Janice in despair.
Oh boy, it's going to be an interesting one.
And on that, I think we're going to leave it for this week.
All right. Adventure time.
Going to the library.
Yeah.
Get your library card.
Cave spelunking ain't got nothing on this.
God, you nerd.
Oh no.
Thank you.
Wow, Janice is going to have a great time.
Thank you for
Have
listening,
a
everyone.
great week, everyone. Thank you
Thanks,
for
guys.
listening.
See you next week, gang. Let's see if we fight a previous character or not.
See you
Next
time.
week, we read books.
Sorry for listening.
Sorry for listening.
All right, so there's a bunch of things we need to find. The most important thing, and the reasons why we're at City Hall, we want a blueprint to the city's sewer system, which is going to be very exciting to find.
Oh,
I can't wait
yeah.
for
Yeah, it's going to be
We're gonna do that.
really cool. Yeah.
Then we get to research the Underdark by finding books about it and learning like about the concept of doorways between the two and ways.
So
and it's going to be great.
Are you mixing up the Underdark and the Shadowfell?
No, not quite. So the Underdark. So there was some form of passageway from what we between the material plane between like the surface level and the Underdark from the sewers. So we researched the Underdark. We learn how that cave system kind of interconnects with each other because Neris doesn't know too much about it. But we find out how everything is worming around and where that could possibly lead to.
I mean, you could also just ask the drow who grew up in the Underdark.
We could, but they're not here, and the library is so much more exciting.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, Alton grew up, like, his home city is in the Pathless Isle, so it's obviously a fair way away as well, but I assume the Underdark in general.
But yeah,
It's just the
subterranean.
vibe.
So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily beholden to the same, like, island geography of the Isles.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that, like, it's all one big interconnected global cavern system, but it's it's a thing.
Would be so funny if Alton grew up in the Pactless Isles but was living under a pacted isle. It's just that the pact ends at ground level. You go 1 meter below, then it's fucking Chaos City. Ow! Fuck.
Oh no.
What did you just do?
I punched my glasses and hurt my nose.
You okay?
Just shocked myself.